We begin tonight with a developing story in Russia. According to Russian intelligence, at least 40 people are dead and more than 100 wounded after a shooting and fire inside a concert hall near Moscow. Footage shows dozens of ambulances outside the Crocus City Hall, where a huge blaze also broke out. Rescuers say 100 people have been evacuated. Authorities are investigating the shooting, calling it an act of terrorism. No group has claimed responsibility for the attack. All right, we want to cross over to Konstantin Eggert. He's our Russia analyst. Konstantin, there's a lot going on tonight. What do we know so far about this attack? I understand you know this place very well.
Well, yes, I've been there when I lived in Moscow quite a few times. So it is a huge concert hall and a shopping center, too. So basically, it is a very, very big building with, as far as I understand, it should be like that. A lot of security, and of course, a lot of security cameras. The hall itself, the concert hall itself, I think has a capacity up to 9,000 people, but according to the authorities, about 6,000 people were basically planning to attend the concert by a popular rock group there. And what we do know is that gunmen opened, and what we see now already, because there's quite a lot of videos circulating now on Russian social media, we see that there were gunmen that opened fire first at the entrance to the venue, and then inside the hall itself, inside the concert hall itself, people are dashing for cover, and it seems that, according to the authorities, again, there are dozens that were killed and much more many that were injured. They are being evacuated, and there's, of course, already a huge storm going on, both on the pro-government and anti-government social media that basically try already to point to the alleged culprits.
And we understand the White House has said that there's no indication that Ukraine had anything to do with this shooting. I mean, what are we hearing from the Kremlin, Russian authorities, as well as Russia's independent media about who or what could be behind this shooting?
Well, look, a lot of independent Russian media, which is mostly in exile now, are going back all the way 25 years ago when mysterious apartment block buildings in Russia killed dozens of people and propelled Vladimir Putin to the leadership, to strong leader position at the time of the war in Chechnya, which in the end the government ended and claimed victory. So people are comparing to that because these bombings were not investigated. Again, this is the anti-Kremlin media. Just before we went to an air break, I saw a telegram post by the former president, Dmitry Medvedev, who very frequently articulates what the Kremlin itself doesn't want to articulate. And he said that if the terrorists are proven to be connected to what they call the Kiev regime, then there should be revenge, and all officials and Kiev officials that are responsible for that should be eliminated. This is the kind of rhetoric you hear now from the Kremlin. But again, it's not clear really to the end what happened. What we've seen, though, on social media also are videos of an arrest made by the Russian police of someone. The pro-Kremlin and independent source both say it is a suspected terrorist, but we still don't know anything. And again, right as we speak, I see news coming in. The Russian police are saying that 4 gunmen escaped in a white car. So that is what we know for now. And again, a lot of it is completely unconfirmed.
And we understand, Konstantin, that the U.S. Embassy in Moscow, just 2 weeks ago on March 7th, published a warning about an imminent terror attack in Moscow. It read that the embassy is monitoring reports that extremists have imminent plans to target large gatherings in Moscow, to include concerts. This was shared with Russian authorities. Do we know what happened then? What's your take on that?
It's interesting that there are some official statements now, or semi-official rather statements, from the sources close to that claimed that the United States did not officially warn Russia, did not share any information about any kind of terror attack that was coming up. And I think it's interesting that the United States at the same time is saying that Ukraine is not behind it. So question is, who could do it then? And I'm absolutely certain that the Russian propaganda will now spin it in such a way that the Americans knew about the upcoming terror attack, but did not warn Russia. So I think, alas, this is also going to be kind of an element of a propaganda war between Russia and the West. I suppose that it is coming up.
Yeah. Well, that warning, it is on the website of the U.S. Embassy in Moscow for everyone to read. That's where we got our information. Moving forward, the spin doctors, as you refer to them, do you think that we are looking at a pretext for an escalation of the war with Ukraine through this concert attack? I mean, is that what is being implied here by what you're hearing from Moscow?
Well, this is what's being implied by the independent Russian media, and all these 2 or 3 hours I'm monitoring the Russian media. Yes, there are 3 coincidences which colleagues from independent Russian media are pointing to. A, the fact that for the first time, Dmitry Peskov, Putin's press secretary, called what's going on in Ukraine a war and not a special military operation. That's number 1. Number 2, a coincidence is that there are reports already of people getting color papers to be mobilized into the army en masse. And this is a second coincidence. And number 3 coincidence is the fact that Russia has been very actively trying to basically strike Ukrainian energy infrastructure in a very, very significant flare-up of shelling of Ukraine recently, which may point to preparations of something bigger. So this is just suppositions, but these are suppositions that, because of the course of war of Russian aggression against Ukraine, many people find pretty serious and credible.
Konstantin, Eggert, with the latest excellent analysis on a developing story coming out of Russia tonight, that shooting at a concert hall outside of Moscow. Konstantin, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to cross over now to DW Russia desk correspondent Vladimir Esipov. Vladimir, what more do we know about this attack? I know more details have been coming in.
What we know for sure, it's the bloodiest and most serious terrorist attack on Moscow soils since more than 20 years, since the hostage taken in the Moscow musical theater Nordost in the autumn 2002. You mentioned already at least 40 dead and 100 injured, but it's far from over because the building is still on fire. In the special forces of Russian police trying to catch the terrorists inside. There's at least 3 groups of special forces entered the building, and the firemen trying to fight the fire. So it's too early to say how many people will be dead and how many injured all across Russia, in big cities in Moscow and St. Petersburg. There are security measures on the rise. The concert and all other events are being canceled, and the school lessons are being canceled as well.
The U.S. Embassy in Moscow just 2 weeks ago published a warning about an imminent terror attack in Moscow. What do you know about that, and how was it received by the Kremlin? Do we know?
We know there's a lot of speculations going on in the Russian sector of internet about what exactly American secure special services knew a couple of weeks ago about possible attack on the Russian capital, and about who would be behind this. And it's a lot of speculations going on right now, but there's no precise information for the time being who exactly could be behind this.
Ukrainian authorities have said that Ukraine had nothing to do with this attack. The spokesperson of the U.S. National Security Council has also commented. I want you to take a listen to what was said.
Sorry?
Let's take a listen to this soundbite.
There is no indication at this time that Ukraine or Ukrainians were involved in the shooting. But again, this just broke. We're taking a look at it, but I would disabuse you at this early hour of any connection to Ukraine.
So, Vladimir, we're hearing there from Washington, Ukraine not involved. I'm wondering, how is this going to resonate with Russians, or is it likely that the Kremlin is going to blame Ukraine for this attack?
The problem is that the Americans have such a bad standing in Russia right now. So whatever the White House saying to the Russia about Ukraine are being reacted in a very negative way. So if the American authorities says Ukrainians are not involved, the Russians start to speculate if the American knew something what the Russians does not know. So it's a lot of wildest speculations going on right now, wildest blaming against the Ukrainians without any obvious reasons yet, because it's too early to talk about any possible means behind this. Mm-hmm. But it's a lot of escalations possible in the next hours and next days.
DW's Vladimir Esipov with the latest tonight on this apparent shooting out at a concert hall just outside of Moscow. Vladimir, thank you.